to defuse the unrest. It had been one of the protesters' main demands, but turned out to be not enough to prevent further marches. In preparation for today's rally, security forces and plainclothes secret police officers were said to have been deployed in Homs and other cities. Earlier this week, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton condemned Syria's harsh tactics against peaceful protests.
It must stop the arbitrary arrest, detentions, and torture of prisoners, and it must cease the violence and begin a serious political process through concrete actions to demonstrate its responsiveness to the legitimate issues that have been raised by the Syrian people seeking substantial and lasting reform.
Syria has long been one of the most repressive countries in the Middle East, and though activists say there have been some small concessions, they insist more reforms must be made soon. We get more now in today's protest from Robert Malley. He's former Special Assistant to the President and Director for Near East Affairs at the National Security Council in the Clinton administration. He now heads the Middle East North Africa program at the International Crisis Group, and he recently returned from a trip to Syria. And Ammar Abdul Hamid, a liberal democracy activist who left Syria in 2005. His blog, Syrian Revolution Digest, has been closely covering the democracy movement there. And we thank you both for being with us. Ammar Abdul Hamid, you've been talking to people on the ground today. What is the latest you're hearing and about why they are continuing?
Well, basically there were protests everywhere, and everyone was expecting violence because the kind of security preparations that took place yesterday were very clear that the army was deployed to certain parts, like in Homs and Mu'azzamiyah and some other suburbs in Damascus, and it was very clear that tanks were involved, heavy security presence was involved. So the intentions were clear, but the protesters have a lot of reasons to push forward. The reality is Bashar al-Assad gave in too few concessions. I mean, the protesters had already reached the conclusion that he is no longer legitimate even before he lifted the state of emergency. The kind of crackdown they had suffered in the first few days of the revolution,
right.
The fact that it took him 10 years to even enact the first concession we wanted,